What's going on, guys? This is Ralph from Before the Beat, and today we have a very, very, very special guest. We have somebody who's dear to me, one of my friends, my brother, my partner in Feel Good Sundays, in the After Work Party. We have the Latin DJ producer king, my man who was very instrumental in all the dance music, or the Latin dance music that happened in the 80s and 90s. And they've become dance staples for the Latino community in your household. Your mother was dancing to it. Your father was dancing to it. I was dancing to it. And now my kids dance to it because you played it all over the place. I want to introduce my man, my brother, Victor Vargas. What's going on? Victor, yay! Give an applause. Yay!
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I'm going to put on my glasses because I got a couple of questions to ask you. I mean, I know this is like an informal thing, and you've been holding it down on Feel Good Sundays every Sunday. People with the mixes, they love the vibe, the tracks, and now we get to talk about the music a little bit, man. So tell the people a little bit about you, where you grew up, where you were born and raised. Talk to them, let them know.
Well, I'm American, but of Puerto Rican descent, of course.
La sangre.
La sangre,
La sangre de Puerto Rico.
My parents were born in Puerto Rico, and of course they met here, United States, and New York City, Brooklyn, New York, actually.
So that Bronx is fake news?
No. We grew up in the Bronx. But
how old were you when you moved to the Bronx?
I was about 2 years old.
2 years old. Okay, so you're really young. Where'd you go to high school?
Grammar school, Park West High School.
You went to Park West.
Park West, 50th Street over there at 11th Avenue.
Tell us about when you first started getting introduced to music. Like, what influenced you? What was going on? What was you were surrounded by? What were the rhythms you were listening to?
My early years like that, I gotta credit the neighborhood jocks, man, that played. You know, they had crews and stuff like that, and they would do these jams where they would go out and set up a table and like, bro, they were taking electricity from the street pole, and these guys were setting up equipment. And the whole bit, bro, the fan, the way you hear about it, it was like that. The power amp with the fan on top, and they're playing all this music, and they have rappers, and they're all rapping, and they're taking turns. And we would come out. My brother, I would join him because he would be like, yo, let's go, let's check this out. And we'll go down there and just stand there and like watch them, you know. And we were like really like, wow, impressed by this, you know. It was really... it was like an experience, like it was a fun experience, and my brother caught a lot of interest. I gotta say him because he caught a lot of interest where he was like, man, I would like to do that one day, you know. So at one point, it's funny, we started going through we didn't have any equipment, we had nothing like that, and he went upstairs, and it's funny, he would take my mother's record player, all right, and he would take that and put records on it and try to scratch on it, and now the parents, they're all looking at him like, what are you doing? Me va a dañar la radiola. You know, you're going to mess up my turntable, you know?
Dañar la radiola.
Yeah, you're going to mess it up. If we try to radiola.
He said, dañar la radio. For those of you that don't know, the radiola was a Spanish Latino.
And that's Spanglish, like bro, because it's not really radiola, you know?
For a stereo system. That's what it was, for a stereo system.
So we were like, Don's over here trying to scratch on it, like, you know, on the regular turntable. But, you know, he was trying to mimic, man, you know, what he saw downstairs. And that went on to grabbing these little we had like two, maybe one in the room and another little one. These little turntables.
Like a little stereo?
Yeah, like a little stereo. And he would take that little stereo and put two little stereos next to each other and try to throw records on like that. And then it got to a point where he had a job and he was working at this kind. It's like a 5 and 10 in 3rd Avenue in the Bronx over there. And he saved up. While he was working, it was a JVC.
Okay.
It was a boombox. All right. And his boss was cool. And he told him, listen, you can buy it, but put it on layaway. You know, so little by little, he paid it off while he was working, you know, with his earnings. And I remember those days. So he went on to taking a regular little record player, and he managed to hook up 2 record players to it through the auxiliary. And now the auxiliary, he was able, through the balance button, for some reason, the way he hooked it up, he turned the balance to the right, and that turntable will be heard. To the left, you hear the other one.
Live! Live, do you hear me? Give my creation!
So he managed to. It had no pitch or nothing on the turntable. So what he would do is he would play a record, and he would hold the metal piece that the record goes on. And he was able to slow it down that way and mix records in.
The actual turntable. He would have the turntable
and mix
itself.
records in. And honestly, man, I was right by him learning this because I got to give him credit, man. He's the one that started. You know, he was doing that, and I'm like, wow. And he's like, yo, Vic, you could do it. Just try it. And little by little, I learned how to do it. But he was good at it because he's the one that started doing that, you know.
Wow, that's
and then from that point on, we evolved. We got our regular summer jobs, and we bought regular turntables, and that evolved from there on. We were already mixing. That's it. We started mixing, and then from that point, we started doing like all the school parties. Before school parties, we were doing a lot of house parties, and let me tell you, we were like nuts, man. We would go out. And somebody would give us a gig. We were starving, man, to want to go out there and play. $50. We would go. You see us
$50?
Bro, we would carry speakers, and we would go to the people's houses, set up, and start mixing, man. And we did a lot of parties that way. But what we were doing was developing a rep, because people knew us now. We were mixing and doing these parties, and it was cool. You know, we would actually get to a point where we started doing all these. The Christ the King. Christ the King was like a Catholic school. They had a big gymnasium.
We all did that. A lot of the DJs
we started doing
we rented the local community center, and through parties, got up with a promoter. We made our own little flyers, literally on paper. Yes. We were making on paper, and then we go ahead and cut it out in 4 corners and fold it.
We started doing that as well.
We did the
and I got to credit my man Serve. Serve will make all our flyers, man.
The graffiti artist.
That's right, Serve the graffiti artist. He would do all of our flyers, all of our paper flyers, and he would design them. We would show him. We're like, yo, we got this party coming up, bang. He would work on it, and he would give it to me. And then we would go out and Xerox them, bro. A bunch of copies.
And cut them with scissors.
Cut them with scissors. And then we wanted to make them fancier, so we wanted to make them smaller. So we would cut them. We would Xerox them where there were smaller copies of them, and we would cut them with the machines and stuff.
Nice.
Cut them out. But that was the way it was back then, you know?
You think about it, if you think about it, you were making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, about 1,000 flyers.
And we were out there, bro, passing them out. We had people passing out these flyers.
And it was that was for the Christ the King party.
Christ the King parties. And then, and it was easy, man, because people, you have friends, and they would like, listen, I want to go.
They want to get him for free. Guess what? Give out some flyers.
There you go.
Here's 500 flyers.
Yeah, for free. Give these out, man, and you win. You plus 3 or whatever. We'll hook them up.
But I want to back up for a second, because it sounds like you both had jobs. You were growing up. You were in the Bronx. It started off from DJing, and then you were buying this equipment. When it came time to this equipment, you had to actually. We had jobs, and at that time in the 80s, it was like minimum wage was like $4 an hour, $4.50 and stuff. How could you afford to buy this equipment? What did you do?
Well, we had, again, summer jobs, and we would chip in.
Okay.
We would chip in. My brother, my cousin, and myself, if we wanted to buy a piece of equipment, we would chip in and get it. And a lot of stuff you were able to get through layaway like that.
Layaway.
Or you had guys that'll sell you. That'll sell you.
Hold on a second. Layaway. For those that don't know what layaway is, layaway is actually what a firm is right now, where you pay little by little, and then when you get when you finally pay it off, you get the product. The difference is a firm now, you pay for it, you get it, and then you make payments. But a lot of people don't make payments and stuff, but that's a whole other different story. Shame on you guys when it comes to that. But when it comes to layaway, that's what it was. It was kind of like, put it on, put $20 here, $30 there. Next thing you know, you got the equipment and you're good.
So we would charge for these house parties, let's say $50.
$50 for the house party.
Because they weren't back then.
Oh, so you do a party.
Back then, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're 16, 17
No, but a
years
house
old.
party and somebody's birthday party in the projects.
Yeah,
they bring the equipment.
House parties. But we did it more for the love.
Of course.
Of just the music and being, and the exposure. $50 wasn't a lot of money, but what we would do was back then, if you remember, the 12-inch was $1.99, I believe. $2.99. Was it $2.99 or $1.99? Whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. It was a big 12-inch. You were able to buy it. That's when the 12-inch came out. So we were able to run to the Wiz, man, the next day. We would walk to the Wiz from the projects, 149 3rd Avenue. We would walk down there, okay? And we would take the $50, and we would take that money and come out of there with a nice handful of records. And then we would go home, learn those records and learn them, and boom, boom. Next party comes up, and we weren't just depending on the parties. Now we had our regular money as well. We would take and we would buy whenever we got a chance. We would buy something here and there, and we added to the collection. A lot of it was all this feel good stuff that I play. We were buying those. It's 12 inches. A lot of those records. So.
Let's take it a little further right now, Victor. Let's go a little deeper right now. Take us on the path from the DJing to start when you were interested in producing music.
Well, the DJing came first, obviously, of course. We did all the parties. We played, we did our first club, which was the Castle.
The Castle in the Bronx, okay.
Castle. And we had
Parkchester.
No,
Castle Hill.
The Grand Concourse, 140th Street, Grand Concourse.
Oh,
that was
okay.
the Castle. That was our very first club. Now, we're talking about the days when La Mirage, those other clubs in the Bronx were in existence. Like I said again, we did the Savoy Manor Ballroom. The Savoy Manor Ballroom was a big ballroom, and people would rent it out. So we rented it out a few times, us and a promoter at the time, Irwin, and he rented this place, and he would have us play. And he would bring on hire acts to come in and perform.
Nice. What were some of the acts?
Some of the acts, we had the Lion Rascals there.
Okay, nice.
We had Noel, I believe. I'm thinking back. I can't remember everyone, but we had a few acts, okay? And but we were the DJs, man, and we would promote this thing like always. Have our promoters out there handing out flyers, and those good old days, man.
You got to start somewhere.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
But that was a stepping stone, right? We learned, and we went on to the next thing. Now the production stuff didn't come till later. After the Castle, we still played. But we weren't at any clubs or anything like that. So we wanted to get on take it to the next level, man, Not just be DJs, but produce records, man. So we wanted to get on that other side of the fence. At the time, you had the Todd Terrys, they were out there. He was producing like all these tracks and doing all this. And we were influenced by Todd.
You were buying all those records.
And we were buying all those records. I was playing all those records. Actually, I go further. My brother would take a ride out to Brooklyn, to Coney Island, I believe. This is where Todd was. And Don would take the train out there and get reels. And Todd would give him, and which I remember having them, a lot of the old reels of a lot of the records that are out that Todd put out.
The little reel-to-reels.
Yeah, the little reels. And we would put them on the reel-to-reel machine and play them. That machine was analog, so you're getting that
Technics 1506
sound.
The 1506.
Forget about it.
It had a pitch control too.
It had a pitch control.
So
now we didn't have that. That was a great machine. We had a regular TAC, and we would play it on there. We would put a sound effect on,
and then slap it on,
and then slap whatever it was right on, and people would freak out because oh, look at this, and we would play like the hot tracks like that. Then eventually, my buddy Elvin Molina, he was doing a lot of these records from home. A lot of the early freestyle stuff.
Like what?
Like that Johnny O stuff, a lot of the Cynthia stuff. All those records, Judy Torres, all that stuff came from the house. He was working out of his basement where he lived. Okay? So I would always go visit Elvin and everything, and I caught an ear to it. I'm like, listen, I want to do my own thing, So he's like, yo, man, go to Rogue Music. You could buy, I didn't want to buy anything brand new. So he's like, go to Rogue Music. You can pick up a nice, like a 4-track, reel-to-reel there if you want, and pick up keyboards. They sell keyboards. Everything is used, but you can start out that way. So I went and bought a sequencer, a Roland sequencer. I don't know if you remember that one, the old Roland sequencer. And then I picked up an Akai 612 sampler. I picked up that Akai 612. We were still in the Castle. My brother, who started that whole ESA LOCA chant,
That's another story.
I know. You want to get into.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave this right here. Tune into the next episode when we go ahead and we talk to Victor on his journey on how him and his brother created that whole ESA LOCA Latin sound. Stay tuned on Before the Beat.